Hey, all my Pisces friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your April 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Pisces, I'm talking about Pisces rising. This is also applicable to Pisces moon and Pisces sun, as well as any Pisces stelliums. That's 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Pisces. Also, these videos are based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location in the world. This is a very, very powerful month. We have been talking about it for some time. It is not only hosting the great conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. We see the month starting off with Mercury retrograding in your second house of money, of self-worth, of your skills, of your personal family history. Now we're looking at the sign of Aries as your second house. So this very much could indicate that you have the ability, if you're brave, to use your skills to birth a sense of security for yourself, a sense of flow of resources, a sense of birthing your version of your voice out into the world. Mercury starts off at 27 degrees, we can see here, which is a Gemini degree, which is sort of doubling down on the idea of I think. So as Mercury is retrograding to all the way to 15 degrees, it will go direct on the 25th of the month. It's going to settle up on the North Node. So this is going to make you, Pisces, have a lot of thoughts about standing up for yourself, about what you want for yourself, how much you're willing to fight for your own beliefs and your own sense of self. It could also inadvertently exasperate a wound. Traditionally, Pisces rules the 12th house and can often be felt unseen. The 12th house is often coined as the house of self-undoing. So this Chiron could very much bring up thoughts of, abandonment, of feeling unseen, of feeling even some inner resentment or anger for things that have not transpired. But as Mercury gets over to this North Node, and then when Mercury goes direct, it's going to go over these points again. And this is going to give you an opportunity to reframe your wound. Chiron represents a wound that transforms into a gift. And this idea of Eris here standing up for herself seems very as if it's an evolved move for you. It's a move that makes you feel more powerful and more centered in your sense of self. That's the way I want to put it. So as we, let's go here to the 5th, because when we go to the 5th, we're going to see Venus moving into Aries. Now, when Venus was in Pisces, the first 5 days of the month, she was having a really great conversation with Neptune. And she's had in March a conversation with Saturn. So while Saturn is traversing your first house, it is very much putting a sense of stability, sustainability, structure, a willingness to endure beyond that which you can see, but you can feel with your heart, you can feel with your inner knowing. And I think this is emphasized by Venus's conversation with Neptune the first few days of the month. She is talking about the things she wants. She's talking about utilizing her whimsy, her creative skills, her intuitive knowing. And as she moves into the sign of Aries, which is considered her detriment, it's considered challenging for her, a struggle where she feels exiled. I think this is actually being rewritten in modern times. This is where Venus knows who she is, where she has an ability to assert herself towards her passions. We see, female people in the media now, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Oprah Winfrey, Hillary Clinton, just to name a few in various genres, asserting themselves. And now this is becoming not what has been traditionally considered challenging, but more an area of strength. So as you become aware that your best friend and your ruling planet, Neptune, are very much enjoying a conversation about what can be, your co-ruling planet, in ancient times wants to innovate, renovate, to liberate, to rebel against what potentially has been. So this is very powerful. We also see Mars is in your first house right now. And I'm not really going to address the moon because the moon is going to zip around. But here, between Mars and Saturn, I believe this is the energy of a spiritual warrior. I believe this is where there is a strong connection to the universe, to all that is, to a higher power. And Mars is talking about what has happened historically and how to use history to set a platform for intentional action. Here, I very much see Mars as a knight of the round table. And as Mars is going to continue to move forward and meet with Neptune by the end of the month, there is a strong willingness to take action based on a spiritual dynamic versus a human dynamic. So I think that's very, very powerful. And while we're talking about Venus, Venus is making a sextile to Pluto, Venus and Neptune. So this is a favorable aspect for transformation and liberation from your 12th house ancestral dynamic. So if for some reason you have felt shy or timid or unsure, here, this could very well come up during this Mercury retrograde as we go over these points of self-assertion, of our wound, of what we crave but have not yet experienced. And this sextile tells me that as I go into, let's say, meditation, or I go into some sort of awareness of my being energy. What do I believe? What is my disposition? What is my attitude? Then Pluto has an opportunity to truly bring in a new dynamic in your life, revolutionizing and very much liberating you from something that may have been tethering you to a small version of yourself. Now, on the 8th, we're going to see our second eclipse of the season. The first was March 25th. You can check your March video for that if you haven't looked at it, because this is they're pairs and they work together. And so when we saw the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra, we were getting an idea of how we work in partnership and in cooperation. Now here we're birthing something new. Here we see this 19th degree, which is the Libra degree, the degree of civility, the degree of diplomacy, the degree of peace, the degree of harmony. Yes, it is the degree of contractual partnerships, but it's so much more. And here we're planting the seeds for the wound to be transformed into the gift. And I think that this is very powerful because while Jupiter is not necessarily making an aspect to the new moon, it is at 19 degrees and it is almost conjunct Uranus. So there is a liberation being offered, an epiphany, an awareness of, and a broadening of potentially your philosophies, your attitudes, your sense of self. With Mercury retrograde conjunct Eris within 3 minutes at the time of this eclipse, this is a willingness in my thought process, in my speech, to stand up for myself. So I want to give you an example. Oftentimes when I'm working with clients, they'll say, I need to do this. I should do this. I have to do that. And it makes me feel a little uncomfortable because I know that's a very anchoring energy. Need, have, should. It's very obligatory. And now there's an opportunity to reframe that into I get to, I want to, I'm excited about. That is super powerful for you. And that is what I think is being offered here in this house of communication, this house of I am. I'm sorry, I possess. Your second house is what you possess, what you create through your own skills, through your own talents. So this is an opportunity to stand up for that in your speech and in your way of thinking. And as this moves back, we're going to continue to have, this is the theme for the whole month, is this Mercury reviewing this, while Jupiter and Uranus are offering a liberation and a new set of beliefs. And in your first house, Saturn and Mars are very much asking you on some level, if you've at all been putting your rose-colored glasses on and looking at things like, oh, they'll get better. I don't need to really worry about that. That person will show up. That boss will give me a raise. You could find yourself being a little bit challenged because there's a deeper inner knowing that maybe that isn't going to happen, and you're going to have to take some kind of action and endure some sort of emotional, what I want to call a disruption, because you'll have to trust an inner knowing more than you trust the outer evidence of what you want. But you're planting the seeds, and planting those seeds are very, very powerful right now because you have this conjunction to support it. Now, let's go on to the first exact conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus. Now, this is very powerful because I want to offer it this way. The exact conjunctions are, yes, very powerful, but the ramping up energy and even the separating energy is palatable for months. This is months. We start feeling this in February, very much ramping up in March. And now in April, we're feeling it intensely, and we will feel it all the way through May. So during the very first exact conjunction, where they're just like less than 30 minutes apart, or a little over 30 minutes apart, don't quote my math. This 21st degree is the Jupiterian Sagittarian degree, very much offering this awareness, the awareness that Mars, we see Mars at 20 degrees, and Mars will continue to make this sextile. So this brave action that I've been taking to dig deep into my own ancestral belief, even my potential anger and frustration, whether it's justified or not, is it serving me? Because Mercury and Venus are now conjunct. And Mercury, I mean, this is almost like, let's go back over your self-worth. And how is that playing out for you? And here's the North Node chiming in. We can do something different. But will you try? Will you be brave? You poor little fishies, you have no protective armor. You can only get away from trouble as fast as you can swim. I mean, that's, kind of literal with the wheel, but this is a very powerful dynamic. We're looking at a very tense conversation that can be transformational when I'm willing to go from a spiritual point. This Neptune making this sextile and continuing to make this sextile for you in the sign of Aquarius, which is your 12th house, is giving you an opportunity to release yourself from an ancestral soul's pattern that did not serve you or does not serve you anymore. So I think that as you step into this awareness, I don't really like the word ascension because it sounds arduous to ascend to a place. But when I have awareness, I'm standing in the present moment and it's offering me something. So that's very, very powerful. Now we go to the 19th, when the sun moves into Taurus and the energy starts to feel different. It's not strongly different, but as the sun is putting a spotlight on the Taurus energy, it's putting a spotlight on your third house of I think. Now we go back to this chiming back to Mercury. Mercury indicating how you're thinking and how you're feeling about yourself. So this is now an opportunity to think about putting your skills into practice, putting your talents into practice. By the end of the month, we will see Venus move into her domicile, and we'll see Mars move into his domicile. And I want to offer this too, because Pisces is not always considered a sort of a pushy sign. It's more considered compassionate and empathetic and willing to compromise. I think here this conversation is really saying, I don't know about that anymore. Am I compromising to a point where I'm dumbing myself down, or am I fooling myself in some way? Am I really stepping into my brave entrepreneurial energy? Because this now, on the day of that the sun moves into Taurus, the exact conjunction between Mars and Uranus and Jupiter could very much call forth literally an inspired action. And on that day, you may, sign up for Patreon, or you may decide to open a YouTube channel, or you may decide to be more raw and deep and digging deep in how you express yourself that allows others to relate to and emote with you. There's still some little shadow sides of fear and trepidation during this period of time, but walking through that will be very empowering. Now let's go to the 23rd, where we will see a full moon in Scorpio. And this full moon in Scorpio is at 4:48 p.m. Pacific time. And this is making a T-square to your 12th house and to this Pluto. A T-square is a triangle. You can see this moon and the sun creating the brightest phase of the moon and then focusing in a tense way on this Plutonian energy right here. And to me, this is almost a feeling of, if I step up for myself, will I actually pay a terrible price? Will I be exiled? Will I be ostracized? Will I be somehow put outside of the group? And I don't think that Pisces likes that. But at the very same time, again, there is a spiritual awareness going on here that allows you and affords you an opportunity to feel something different. And I mean that in the way of strength moving forward. We see a half square here from Pluto to Saturn in your first house, and this could very well bring up a sense of history, something historically that has been a platform. When I was a little kid, my dad and my parents were divorced, and my dad really didn't spend much time with us unless he was forced to. And so his favorite line was, "Love you, gotta go." And this to me is an underbelly of how I perceive love. It doesn't stay. It's always got something better to do. So you could discover and feel very much an illumination of an underbelly of how you have perceived yourself that you didn't even realize was going on, something that happened historically. Maybe even it could reflect your childhood, or more likely it could reflect a soul's imprint, a continued experience that your soul has had and that you're yearning to get past in this lifetime. Now on the 25th, this is the big day everybody's been talking about, but I think it's just one in a series of lots of big days. I'm going to move this back to 12 o'clock. We see the second and final conjunction between Uranus and Jupiter has now crossed over Uranus. This is very, very significant for me. Mercury has now stationed to go direct and is conjunct the North Node. This dynamic will take a few days before Mercury ramps up. And so the thoughts are going to be on entrepreneurship, on being brave, and potentially, again, this, do I still want to be pissed off about what didn't happen? Do I want to let those thoughts dominate me? Do I have any hidden resentments that I didn't realize I have that's been holding me back? Because here we have Eris, this really independent, strong, I'm okay being me, female energy. And there's Venus, and they've been chatting now. And Venus is very much she's wanting to trust herself. As she moves into Taurus, she's wanting to trust her skills. She's wanting to trust her voice. She's wanting to trust an inner knowing that up until now, maybe she's never really felt comfortable about, because the two signs she rules have a tendency to have, one is partnership in Libra, where we can easily acquiesce our power to our partnership or to our contractual relationships. And here Venus is in the sign of Taurus. She's kind of rubbing up against how her family treated her and how she felt supported in her endeavors and her uniqueness then. And so now, if there's any lagging, if there's any residual that's holding you back and tethering you to a smaller story, this conjunction is offering you liberation from it. It's offering you something like it can almost kill the old story so that a new story can take place. And this is very, very powerful. And it's going to happen over a period of time. So while we see these aspects, think of them literally as weather: sunny days, rainy days, cloudy days, days with lightning strikes of epiphanies. That's what Uranus would bring in, a sense of genius. And that is going to happen over a period of time. It could already be happening by the time you're watching this video. We go to the 28th, and here Mars is just about to move into his domicile, and it's having a final conversation with Neptune. And this conversation, a lot of astrologers would say that neither Saturn nor Mars are strong in your first house, but I think that's because they see it sort of in a flat way. I very much think Mars is a knight of the round table here, a Knights Templar, a peaceful warrior, somebody who wants to stand up for what it believes in, but for the higher vibration. And here, Neptune is reminding Mars, what are you thinking? There's that 28th degree. That thought is the very first thing to be aware of because it represents the belief system. So as we're going into our thoughts and he's about to move into this very strong place, will Mars stand as the hero or will Mars stand as the out of control warrior? I don't think it's going to be out of control warrior here. Let's now go to the 30th, last day of the month. And here's Mars on the world axis. And I really hear this conversation is still strong in Mars's mind. He understands that instinct comes from not just allowing the mind to sort of subside, but also understanding where instinct comes from. Does it come from fear? Does it come from love? And what does that mean to you? We have Venus. She moved into her domicile the day before. So we've got the feminine, the receptive energy, and the action-oriented energy in its strongest vibration as the month ends. So whatever awarenesses that came to the forefront, whatever situations were birthed during the eclipse season, and for most of us, I think a lot of this is going to be on an interior, emotional, spiritual level. We may see some things in our material worlds, and on a world stage. This conjunction can bring up a lot of stuff, but that's a whole different video. So for now, what I would just want to offer in closing for my Pisces is that harnessing your creativity, being aware of being self-compassionate, having empathy for your own journey, and maybe even stretching yourself a little bit to put yourself at the forefront could very much serve your future relationships and your future endeavors. Saturn is in your first house, very much wanting to put a sense of sustainability, something that can grow and bring reward and benefit. But part of that is going to require an endurance, meaning I can't see the result yet. I got to trust that result with my heart, with my inner knowing. All right, that's it for my Pisces for April 2024. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you please like, please subscribe, please share. If you'd like to get a reading with me, I'm available. My information is below in the description, and I'll be back in May with your May horoscopes. So have a wonderful conjunction and set your sights high. Pisces, there's a lot of great things a lot of potentials out there for you. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.